Kings Park. Hello. Can't hear you. Hello. That's more like it. We have some lineup. We really do for this concert for Sandy Relief. So, a couple of little pieces of housekeeping before we get started. Now, we just want to be safe and we want to be sound and secure. So on my left, that would be your right, exit. On my right, your left, exit. In the very unlikely event that we have to vacate this concert hall, this auditorium, in an emergency, know where the exits are. Also, there's an exit where you come in. The way you come in is the way you get out. Now, some of us are not as nimble of foot as we used to be. Are you with me? Yes. Okay, so let's not have a stampede. Let's help each other out in the very unlikely event that we have to do that. Okay? I just want to talk a little bit about the ancient order of Hibernians. Just for a moment. It's a fraternal organization founded in 1836 in Manhattan. And their main thrust is charity and Christian fellowship. And so, to that end, without getting into the history of how it was started in 1836 to begin with, we spend most of our efforts on charitable events, fundraising, and promoting our culture. Hello, cultural awareness people. Yes. Oh. Yes. Hello. And so when Sandy hit, last year, some of you were here, we did a real quick concert. We had 80 people or 100 people here, and it was just terrific. And somebody said, well, why don't we do it again? There's a lot of work to be done. But I'll tell you, every day you pick up Newsday, including today, there was an article in the second piece of Newsday that talked about 4 businesses that are really struggling. Really struggling. But I have an interesting story that I'm going to show up, I promise. In May of this year, a friend of mine, she said to me, you know, Tom, in that Northport Ford dealership down there by the fire department in Comac, everybody know what I'm talking about? Yeah. She said, there's a nursery that's just opened. I said, where? What, a nursery? There's nothing but a vacant lot. That's, I'm telling you, they have flowers, they have shrubs, they have this, they have that. So anyway, a week later, I go down there, and sure enough, there's a little small tent set up. They had their cash register set up. And I got to talking with the gentleman, and he said to me, so I said, well, where are you coming from? And he said, you know, we were down in Copac, and the storm wiped us out. We lost everything. It's a family business. I'm talking about Jacqueline's Garden, right? So I'm sure some of you have been there. And some of the family members and the employees in the place, they lost their homes down there. Here's the thing, though, that you're going to appreciate. He said, so what do you do? I said, well, I'm a retired guy. I make believe I'm important. And we teach some, we talk about some Irish culture up there in Kings Park. And by the way, speaking of Sandy, says I, we're doing a little concert in November for Sandy Relief. And he wouldn't let me finish. He said, are you going to do a journal? I swear you can't make it up. I said, as a matter of fact, I am. He said, how much is a half a page? I said, I think it's about $45. And I didn't even finish the sentence, and he rang the cash register. He took $45 out. Here's my business card, and put me in that journal. So on the back of your journal, on the last page, you'll see Jacqueline's Garden. And that's the story of somebody, a family who lost their business, lost everything, and said, we're not giving up. And so they start their business on a vacant car lot right here in Comac. And then thought about helping somebody else. Let's do an invocation. see, Father Sean is not here, so I'll have to pinch hit for him. So please join me, Nam and Nahar, August and Thick, August and Spirit. Our Father?
Yes.
You're not going to help me out, then I'm going to have to a quick prayer, right? For a successful concert. Our Father who art in heaven.
Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil.
So, we will have a break. About halfway through, we'll have a 10-minute break. The Irish lady said, Tom, we have to have a break. We cannot not have a break. And I know better than to have that discussion. So we'll do that. But anyway, and then at the end of today's performance, we will have our drawing, a 50-50 raffle, and then a draw. And some people, I see Myra and Charlie here, the Fontanas, they donated a basket. Marie Riley donated a wonderful painting again as she did last year, which is on display over there, and her work can be seen around Long Island in libraries in the summertime. So, I think I've covered all of the basics. Our first artist this evening, Tom Gruen. And by the way, go ahead, that's good. I know some of you know Tom. Tom is somewhat physical therapy. When you're not feeling too good and you're trying to make it and you know you have a concert to go to, you can go see Tom and he'll fix you up for sure. He's up down Rockville Road and he's Northport. Tommy, and also, you're going to see the extraordinary Luke Powers is going to accompany him on the bagpipe. So this is an extraordinary performer, not that Tom is not. But Luke Powers and Tom Gruen. Give them a big, big hand. forgot to mention that Tom is the bandmaster for the Northport Five Band. And for many, many years, they walked up with the County Ferry Association of New York in the St. Patrick's Day Parade. And then just in the last year or two, they handed that off to the newly formed St. Anthony's Pipe Band from St. Anthony's High School, and I see some St. Anthonyers here today. Next up, from on Lincoln Moor, Peggy White on our Irish dancers. And Peggy is going to explain a little bit of the origin of the dances, and then the dancers will perform. Peggy White from On Lincoln Moor.
Well, good afternoon, and thank you so much for this opportunity to be here. We are the On Moor School of Irish Step Dancing, and On Moor means the big dance, or the big circle of dance. The school is located in Smithtown, and we also have locations in Wisconsin and in Secaucus. We're going to do this kind of as a workshop. I'm going to give you a little bit of history about the dance, and some of the kids will be exhibiting and performing the dance for you to give you a better idea of what we do. But before we actually get to the history, I just want to introduce each girl. They're going to come out and take a bow, and then I'd like to announce their names. First up, we have the latest girl. Actually, there's not very much known about Irish step dancing prior to the 5th century. That was due to the fact that they were Viking invaders that destroyed all the records, the books, the culture of Ireland in order to dominate them. There was one book that did survive, thank goodness, is the Book of Kells, which was a manuscript written by monks in the early around 435. And it was secreted away and preserved by the church, and it has survived all these years. It's actually on display in Trinity College in Dublin, and within the confines of the book are the beautiful Celtic knots that we're familiar with, and actually that many Irish dancers adorn on their dresses. So that was a very good save. Irish dance has been influenced by many cultures, and of course they've been invaded by many cultures, which probably helped a little bit along the way. But as you can think of Irish dancing, there's a lot of stamping, which would be similar to like a Spanish flamenco. Some of the very light dances, like the reel and the slipjig, I'm sure that they were influenced by ballet. And some of the other country dances, like the Scottish and the English country dancing, could have possibly influenced some of our Cayley dancing, which is a group dancing done by 4 to 16 people, and it usually has figures in it, like a figure 8 or a circle. We'll be doing a little bit of that later too. But the first dash that is of record is in the year 1040. And it was like a trade fair. So people would trade things, anything from local produce to political ideas would be shared as well. And there would be cultural events such as sporting events, there'd be music, dancing, storytelling. And even until this day, it is primarily a cultural exchange. Of course, it's more of a competition in each of those things. Everyday Beshana include Irish music, Irish language, dancing, sometimes storytelling, and even sometimes Irish bread making. But it carries on that tradition. that started so many years ago. In 1750, the dance masters came into play in Ireland, and they were people that traveled throughout the country. And for instance, they would come here to, let's say we were in Ireland, and Kings Park is a part of Ireland. Like myself, I would come and spend a couple of weeks. I would teach the local people Irish step dancing, and then move on to another area. I'd be maybe at a host family, and it would be an exchange of ideas. And that carried on for many, many years. And to be truthful, it carries on today, because as a dance teacher, we go to different towns, and at Bashana, we exchange different ideas. And it has been a very lively time for the children as well, learning and perfecting their dance style. So one thing that the dance masters did do is that they had a set series of steps, and then they would make up their own, and that's true today also. So I'm going to ask two of the girls to come out, and they're going to do a light jig. And the light jig is a simple dance. You're probably familiar with the music. And they're going to be doing step 1 and 2. And every dancer pretty much knows these 2 steps. And it would be probably way back to the days of those roving dance masters that they would have these same steps. Set that has been passed down from one dance master to the other, from dance master to student, is St. Patrick's Day, and Kylie's going to come and do this. It's a set dance, so it has it's a little more complicated than what we just saw before, but it's a traditional set. The true pieces of that set that are incorporated into our dance steps today. One is the rocks. Can you just a few rocks? And that's just rolling on the heels, and then a drum. And that's a toe heel action, and a treble. Right. Okay. Thank you. So all of those pieces are in our steps today, but Irish dancing is truly a living, breathing art. And although it has many of these traditional elements, it also has some elements of acrobatics almost in some cases. Let's see, maybe, would you like to come and do a birdie and show us? Or, okay, Kylie wants to. Okay, so that would not be a traditional element. Actually, one of the things I forgot to tell you is that at some of the original Feshana, when the dance masters would go around and they would have these competitions or shows or exchange of dance knowledge, they would be judged not on how they did the step, but how many they did. And that is the total opposite of what it is today. Today it is a certain standard amount of steps, and they are judged totally on execution, about their posture, their placement of their feet, timing. Timing is a very big part of it. So it's interesting how things have evolved over the years. Now, one of the things that whenever I give these talks, people are always interested in, why are their hands down by their sides? And there aren't indicators to say that in early Irish dancing, people did use their hands. And if you saw Riverdance or Lord of the Dance, you saw that in those shows, you know, where they had their hands up like this or like that. And that it seems to be actually the true traditional way of dancing. But over the years, that has stopped, probably for a couple of different reasons, but here are the two theories that I've heard the most. One is that perhaps the local parish priest thought it was a little too provocative to have those kind of hand movements, and thought people would have even more control if they had their hands down by their sides. But you know, if you ever try to do Irish dancing, that's probably one of the hardest things, is to try to keep your hands down. And then the other theory is the theory that because Ireland was invaded so many times, and many things that were Irish, music, dance, the cultural things, were suppressed, people still wanted to do those things, of course, but they didn't want to get caught doing those things. So if there was a dance party, the people would dance with their arms down, and so if a passing soldier or the police were passing by the house and looked in the window, they would just see someone walking by. So that's another reason why perhaps Irish dancers keep their hands by their side, but there's no real, since there aren't that many records, we're not totally sure of why, so you can pick whichever one you like. Okay, now we had before the little girls come and do a light jig, and then we saw another variation of the jig, which was St. Patrick's Day. Elena is going to come out and she's going to do what is currently done in competition for a treble jig. We take that music that we heard before, slow it down, and we put a lot more beats into it. Okay, so this is the treble jig. The tips and the heels are made of fiberglass. They're, if anyone ever did tap dancing and you had those tap dancing steel taps, they're illegal in Irish step dancing. So we have these fiberglass tips, and that's what makes that sound that you would normally hear. But because of the floor, we're not taking a chance. But these are what make the sound. So when they click their heels, it makes that sound. And then when they hit the floor, it makes the beating sound. So it's nice and clear and crisp, and you can hear it, the rhythm very clearly then to the music. One other thing I wanted to tell you about is that in 1930, on commission, Laerinca Gallica, I'm not sure if I'm saying that correctly, but it is the Irish Dance Commission was organized in Dublin. It's still there today, and that is where I got my certification. And it's a great organization that standardized Irish step dancing. It standardized the rules for Bashana, for judges, for steps, also for stage sizes. When dancing first started, it was in the crossroads, of course, of Ireland, or in the barn, or sometimes it would even be on the back of a lorry. But now we've standardized for competition, for the safety of the children, and for the elegance of the dance, certain size stages, and of course now dancing you can see in concert halls and in school auditoriums and ballrooms and hotels. So it's really come a long, long way from the crossroads and the barns. Okay, so one other thing now we're going to do is we're going to have Kylie come out, and we have a series of jigs. Now Kylie is going to do her hornpipe, and this again is, she and her sister Elena are both championship level dancers, and she's going to be doing the hornpipe. Dancing is not for the faint-hearted. You need to be in very good shape, and these girls really do a lot of cross-training. Both of those girls are track stars, and also the training that we do in class. We do a lot of, flexibility training and this and that, just to be able to do what they do. Now that was the hornpipe. So far we heard the jig, the hornpipe. We're just going to have a traditional hornpipe come out, and we're going to have our three dancers here. We have Trinity, Katie, and Kiara, and they're going to be doing a little quick step in the hornpipe. So basically we speed the music up from the last dance you saw, and this is going to be the traditional hornpipe. And the slip jig has kind of a funny story, because originally it was not a part of Irish dancing. Irish dancing really was a male-dominated dance, or a cultural aspect. And throughout the years when the dance masters came around, of course the women wanted to dance, but it was unladylike to sweat. And so they created the slip jig, which is a very, very graceful dance. It's done only in the light shoes, and to this day only done by women or girls. So we're going to have the girls come out and do their slip jig. We're going to to start with Katie and Trinity, and then Kiara, and then Elena. To do the very last rhythm. We did the jig, we did the hornpipe, the slip jig, and this is the reel. And so we're going to have our girls end up doing the reel. But I just want to say, Irish dancing brings a lot of things to the table. It's, of course, a beautiful art to watch. But as you do it and learn it as a young child, it promotes self-confidence, sportsmanship, healthy eating habits, and just good friends, good friendships. So if anyone is interested, you can contact Enrica Moore at enricamore.com. And now we have the reel.
extraordinary Wayne Nelson.
I'll take that, thank you. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Hello. You know, I'd like to tell you a couple of stories about my friend Murphy. Murphy one day decided to go ice fishing. So he found some ice, he drilled a hole, he dropped his line down, and he's fishing along, and he hears this voice. And the voice says, "There are no fish there." Well, Murphy ignores the voice and he keeps on fishing, and he hears the voice again. "There are no fish there." Finally, Murphy can't ignore that voice any longer. So he looks up at the voice, he answers the voice, he says, "Are you God?" And the voice says, "No, I'm the manager of the ice rink." You know, Mrs. Casey asked Mrs. Murphy, she says, "What's the difference between kinky and erotica?" Kinky and erotica. Mrs. Murphy thought for a minute. She said, "Well, I'll explain it to you this way. If Patty tickles you with a feather, that's erotica. If he uses a whole chicken, that's kinky." Mrs. Murphy went to the doctor to have her pregnancy terminated, and the doctor says, "You're too late. He starts school tomorrow." You know, Mr. and Mrs. Murphy were sleeping in their beds in the middle of the night, and they were woken up by a thief. And the thief had a gun. He held it to Mrs. Murphy's head. He said, "Put your hands up." He says, "What's your name?" She says, "My name is Elizabeth Murphy." He says, "Elizabeth Murphy? Well, you're not going to believe this, Elizabeth. My own mother's name is Elizabeth, and today is her birthday. And because of that, Elizabeth, I'm not going to harm you." Then he turned the gun to Murphy. He says, "What's your name?" He says, "My name is Patty Murphy, but my friends call me Elizabeth." You know, Murphy's uncle died, ladies and gentlemen. Murphy was overcome with grief. So he decided to buy a dog. So he looked up dogs in a classified. He found a golden retriever pedigree for 55 euros. So he thought to himself, this is awfully cheap. He called up the woman. He says, "Is this correct, a full pedigree for 55 euros? She says, "The dog is fantastic. You come down, take a look at him for yourself." So Murphy went down to the woman. He knocked on her door. He says, "I'm here to see the pedigree, you know. But if it's not a full pedigree, I'm going to be on my way." She says, "I told you it's a full pedigree. Go down and ask him yourself." So he walks downstairs, and he goes up to the dog. He says, "Now, what's this about you being a pedigree?" And the dog says, "Pedigree? I'm twice as good as that. Pedigree. Last year, I won the Golden Cross show in London. The year before that, I was a police dog of the year. The year before that, I was police dog of the year. And not only last week, I saved 2 children from drowning." And Murphy says, "That's extraordinary." So he goes back up and he says, "Now, why would you want to sell a dog like that for only 55 euros? And the woman says, "Because he's a liar, that's why." Thank you. Murphy went to the pub one evening, and he never came back. He just went missing. And after about 4 years, Mrs. Murphy decided to report him missing. So she went down to the police station, and she says, "I'd like to report my husband missing." And the policeman said, "Well, can you give us a description?" And he said, "Well, he's 6'6", blonde hair, blue eyes, 56-inch chest, and big muscles. And her little boy is with her. And he goes, "Mommy, that doesn't sound like Daddy." She says, "Who wants him back?" Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I don't have any more Irish jokes for you, but I would like to do a couple of impressions, if that's okay. A couple of celebrity impressions. You tell me if they're okay. You tell me if they're okay. Let's try Jack Nicholson. He just retired from acting. Jack Nicholson. Put the hat down here for a sec. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I decided to quit acting and maybe hang out at a Laker game and watch Kobe Bryant bring the whole team down. How about Al Pacino? Al Pacino and Senator Woman. My name is Colonel Frank Slade, U.S. Army retired. Charlie, you ever find yourself face to face with danger? You just look danger right in the eye, and you say, "Hooah!" Hooah! Godfather.
I want to thank all the heads of the flag families for coming here today. From Brooklyn we have Philip Italia. From the Bronx we have Carmine Corleone. Buonasera. Buonasera.
Thank you. How about Arnold Schwarzenegger? Arnold Schwarzenegger.
You know, the last couple of years ago that I became the governor of California, and they said to me, we're going to pay you $180,000. I said, get out of here, I don't need it. I make $20 million a movie. Get out of here. Get out of here.
Yeah, I think Robert De Niro's getting a little too old for action movies or gangster movies, right? This is De Niro now. It's like, you talking to me? You talking to me? You talking to me? I couldn't hear you. My hearing aid was turned off. Couldn't do it. How about Katharine Hepburn? Katharine Hepburn? No, man, you're such an old poo. Oh, you're like a knight in shining armor. Jackie Mason. You know Jackie Mason? You know, there's a big difference between Jews and Gentiles. I don't know if you heard about it. First of all, Gentiles are lazy. They're lazy. If I go into the city, you see signs. They say men working, men working. I never see any men working. All I see is 12 Gentiles sitting down eating sandwiches. That's all I see. I don't know if you're talking about it. Maybe you did, maybe you didn't. I don't know. And how about Vince Vaughn? You guys know Vince Vaughn? All right, Vince Vaughn from Wedding Crashers. Yeah, you know, Janice, I apologize if I don't seem really eager to jump into a forced, awkward, intimate situation people like to call dating. You know, I don't like the feeling you're sitting there, you're wondering, do I have food in my face? Am I eating enough? Am I talking too much? Am I interested? Am I not interested? Do I want to be interested? Now you're not interested. So all of a sudden I'm starting to get interested. You know, I really feel awkward about the whole thing. And I wouldn't like to forget our president, Mr. Barack Obama. Did you see the debates with, he's like, the things that Governor Romney are saying are just not true. But they're just not true. That's it. And how about Christopher Walken? You remember Christopher Walken? Good night, moon. Good night, room. Good night, cow jumping over the moon. Yo. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much.
Come on, I know we could do better than that. Can't get out if it's snowing or the weather is bad. You can get them on YouTube and those other tubes, Google. Anyhow, our next performer is an extraordinary Luke Powers. He's an extraordinary, talented person. Not only is he Gaelic language speaker, not only is he a musician, a singer, a composer, uilleann piper, he's also a great promoter of our music and our culture. The great Luke Powers on the uilleann pipes, please.
Hopefully won't leave this. These are the Irish stone pipes, or as my old teacher Jerry O'Sullivan used to describe them, as a cross between a brawn and a whoopee cushion. It's a fire hazard. We built it in. Hopefully nothing will happen, otherwise there's no chance of getting out. I'm going to start with a few reels. First one is called The Laurel Tree, which was made popular by the Bhakti band in the 70s. The second one is the first reel I ever learned. It's called Reel and Gava, or the Smith's Reel, the Blacksmith's Reel. And the last one is a session standard. It's called the Silver Spear. So 3 reels. So hopefully these guys are behaving tonight. much more popularly played now. I've never seen this dance done. It's called a hop jig. I don't think it's done very often anymore. And basically what it is, we had the great explanation about the slip jigs being a 9/8. Basically, in Irish music, the jigs, they'll say the double jig has 2 sets of 3s, and they're written, that's carrots and cabbages, carrots and cabbages. Slip jigs are carrots and cabbages, fill you up, carrots and cabbages, fill you up. Then you have single jigs, which are much better, say carrots and cabbages, fill you up totally, carrots and cabbages, fill you up totally. You have your reels, which are Dunkin' Donuts, Dunkin' Donuts, Dunkin' Donuts. And you want like Dunkin' Donuts, Dunkin' Donuts, Dunkin' Donuts. And this next one basically is a speeded up slip jig.